This is the ATI Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the ATI Podcast. Barrett here. Got Josh back in the saddle, back at my side.
What's up? What's up?
And we've got a very special guest with us here, Moses, the deliverer. How you doing, Moses?
I'm not too bad, guys. How are you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic.
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Thank you for doing the show.
Glad to hear. Of course,
If this is
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's our pleasure. If this is the first time that you're seeing the ATI Podcast, we just bring folks on that we find interesting. We usually try to have some type of connection to the St. Louis area because we're St. Louis boys at heart and still don't live too far from there. And people that are kind of on the rise, people that we feel that need the attention and spotlight their talents. And that fits Moses to the T, I think. We got Moses here. He's an aspiring professional wrestler doing a lot on the indie scene right now. And I just think it's a matter of time for you, sir.
Absolutely.
I hope so. You know, things are looking good so far. The year started off hot. Had shows pretty much every weekend so far. You know, booked, busy, traveling. Already wrestled out the country this year so far. So, yeah, it's looking good so far.
That's cool.
Where did you get the chance to wrestle at?
Winnipeg.
Okay, up in Canada.
Yeah, that was
That's
fun.
cool.
I think that was our third time. My bad. That's the quad father Camaro Jackson. He's messing with me. We got the Team Ambition tryout camp going on upstairs.
Heck
right
yeah.
Now. That's
Yeah.
exactly
Put
why
work in.
I had to come down to the bottom of the building because they're up there beating those guys up, putting them through the ringer. So I don't want a bunch of screaming, and you guys hear all the torture that's going on in the background. But
Right,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
Little stretching going on, huh?
yeah. But no, yeah. That was actually digress there. I might do that a lot during this podcast. Just a heads up. I tend to do that sometimes.
It's all good, man.
Wander off.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was I think that was my third time I went to Canada this past trip. So yeah, I love they show a lot of love up there. It's really fun.
Oh, yeah.
The fans are great. First time going
Yeah.
up there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is something totally different,
that's-
than what you're used to in America.
Right.
That's
Right.
what I was getting ready to ask you. How was the scene up there? But yeah, that sounds awesome.
It was crazy. And I think, I think a lot of the rest of the world, people who weren't aware of it already, they got to be exposed to it with the Elimination Chamber event, with the fans in Montreal. They saw
Absolutely.
how rowdy, even the Friday Night Smackdown that happened the day before, they saw how rowdy and how energetic those fans were.
Right.
So, we definitely get a little bit of a taste of that in Winnipeg, and it's nice. It's awesome. I love it.
What promotion did you wrestle with up there?
Winnipeg Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
WPW. Yeah. Great guys, great locker room. Again, like I said, great fans. They sell out. Their shows sell out like that. It's crazy. I remember last time they tagged me in a poster hey, this upcoming show, WPW, and within a day, maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
They made another post hey, this show is sold out. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
That's insane,
They
man.
sell out all their shows, and it's loud and it's rowdy, and it's lights are crazy. The setup, it's cool. It's fun. I really enjoy it there.
I just read that Bret Hart's sons, Blade, and I forget the other one.
Mm-hmm.
They're only on their first or second show. I think
Really?
deep. I mean, it's relatively new, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's some tie. I can't remember the name for the life of me right now, but I know it's some tie to the Hart Dungeon in name.
Cool.
But I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah.
I think I saw something about that on Twitter the other day. I think that show drew 700, 800, something like that.
Yeah.
I saw the pictures looked awesome. The lighting, set and everything, the ring, it looked nice. Yeah, it definitely sparked my interest.
So, speaking of interest, what Moses originally got you into professional wrestling, might I ask?
So of course, just like a lot of people, it's as far as I can go back, as far as I can even remember being alive, professional wrestling has kind of always been around. And one way or the other. My big brother, he really got me into it again at a young age with the action figures and watching them play the video games like Day of
He tried
Reckoning.
moves on you.
Oh my god, countless. It's actually kind of funny. Sometimes I tell people, I'm like, I knew how to sell before I started wrestling because when we do our little backyard fights or whatever,
Right.
He would hit me with something or something, and like I'd get up, he'd be like, you wouldn't get up that fast in real life, and like you hit me hard. I'm like, okay. So
Yeah.
I kind of had a pretty good grasp of selling by the time I started wrestling. But I give him a lot of credit for getting me into professional wrestling. Like I said, with the action figures and the video games, and just having the pleasure to meet a lot of professional wrestlers at a very young age. Like I'm at the age of like 4 years old. I was going to these different video game shops, meeting guys like Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio, and then as you guys know, Randy Orton is from our area, so I would run into him a lot of multiple times when I was younger, a few different occasions. So it's something that I was exposed to at a very young age, and it's something that I was hooked to right away.
Is there anything that you remember in your history or your past within your fandom that there was a switch that flipped and you said, I'm going to make this my life, my dream. I'm going to pursue professional wrestling?
It always, when you're growing up as a kid, throughout grade school and everything, it's always something in the back of your mind, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be a pro wrestler one day when I grow up. That's something I might want to do. But you never really know exactly how to do it or how to get into it. But I do know in high school, I believe it was the sophomore or junior year, which wasn't that long ago. I'm trying to make some like it was forever ago. It wasn't that long ago. But again, I kind of really started looking into it and starting to like venture and like look up different professional wrestling schools, things like that. And that's when I really started to like dig deep. And I would try to look up YouTube videos like how to bump and stuff like that. So towards the middle to the end of high school is when I really started to think, like I think I really, really want to actually try to do this. So.
Yeah, and while you were in school, did you do anything like any sort of shoot wrestling? Like school affiliated wrestling?
I did do amateur wrestling. I started amateur wrestling at a young age.
Okay.
My first season of amateur wrestling I was in 4th grade. So and then I stopped for a little bit and then got back into it. So amateur wrestling has also been a big part of my life. Throughout my whole life, really. So amateur wrestling and pro wrestling. But I always knew the difference between the two. I know a lot of guys like I'll see podcasts of wrestlers. They'll be like, I went to my first amateur wrestling practice and I tried a wrestling move and the coach kicked me out. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't allowed to do that because I knew the difference. But still, there's a lot of correlations between the two. Actually, that a lot of people don't actually realize. They're a lot more similar than people may think. A lot of the movements and a lot of the basic principles. Because that's where professional wrestling was founded from. The roots of it. Stem back to amateur wrestling, way back. So
yeah, and it's funny you hear some of those stories, especially decades of old. Whenever some of the like Mick Foley, for example, that's a guy who sticks out in my mind. He talks about how he went and joined the amateur wrestling at school, thinking that it was what he saw on TV. And he had kind of a rude awakening that the two weren't the same. And that doesn't even really seem that far back, thinking of him as a wrestler. But that's funny. But as the years have gone by, the business isn't necessarily protected like it used to be. But I know that there's a bit of a brotherhood and an environment that's established. I know a lot of that's, you maybe have a bigger appreciation for some of that too, depending on who you've trained under. And I know you had the chance to train under Harley Race. Specifically a legend in the business.
Absolute legend.
Can you tell our audience a little bit about that experience and what that was like for you?
So that's something that, to this day, for the rest of my life, I'll always be grateful for, not many people get to say they were trained by the 8-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, a WWE Hall of Famer, somebody who has wrestled any and everybody, legends, from Hulk Hogan to, Andre the Giant, Ric Flair, all of those guys. So, It was definitely a surreal experience the first time walking into that building and meeting Harley. His hands are massive. They're massive and they're like thick. They're like it's almost like a baseball mitt. Catcher's mitt. So when you shake his hand, sometimes depending on what day it is, he'll give you the regular handshake and everything. Some days he might put a little extra grip on it. Kind of bring you down to your knees, and I'm like, here I am sitting here. 70-year-old plus man has me on my knees squealing in pain. You know what I'm saying? But he's
Yeah.
not just any regular man. Again, he one of
Sure.
the toughest dudes in professional wrestling in general. And again, I was blessed to be able to learn a lot from him. He wasn't able to really get in the ring, of course, and do
Sure.
any physical stuff. But as far as the the mental part of things, I mean, he'd probably forgotten more about wrestling than any of us will ever remember. So
Absolutely.
it was a lot of those little things, a lot of the stories, a lot of the details, and it was just really
Big
cool
open
to
book of
hear.
knowledge.
Oh my goodness! I mean, you could ask him anything, he'd
Yeah.
tell you just like that.
That's so
especially
cool.
when it came to wrestling. There's a couple times where we get like a little physical with him, like he'd be in his wheelchair and we'd be getting showed like a different hold. He'd be like, "Come here, kid. I'll show you how to wrench it in properly." Go over there, bend your head down, and he, crooked and turning and everything. I'm like, what I'm saying? Here I am squealing, at the hand of a 70-year-old plus man. But,
Yeah.
it was awesome again.
That is cool.
I'm very thankful for memories that I will forever keep. So
Yeah, to put it in perspective, if anybody remembered Big Van Vader from back in the day, quite the specimen. Leon White was a big wrestler. He was actually in Boy Meets World, an episode of Boy Meets World. But they had actually Harley Race be his manager on purpose in WCW to kind of straighten his ass out, for real life.
Yeah.
So that tells you how much of a badass that
Need to
Harley
tame
Race
this
is.
dude.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Even,
And a lot of people don't.
Even people like Haku, Haku was saying Harley was one of the very few. Haku didn't fear many guys at all.
Right.
Probably on one hand he can count the amount of guys that would strike fear into him. But he said Harley was definitely one of those guys. So.
Right.
And not to mention the countless of stories you've heard about different legends in the business tell you
Right.
stories about Harley. So yeah.
Yeah.
He was legit, man.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize he actually did the body slam to Andre the Giant before Hogan did it at WrestleMania.
Really? I did not even know that.
And you would, by looking at him, you would never think that he could do something like that, honestly.
And if you look at it, it's not one of those things where it's barely a body slam. He was off to the side.
Right.
No, Harley had him legit, in the air.
Ass over tea kettle for sure.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
And getting those chances with Harley, I'm sure. Now, is this the formal schooling that you immediately went into, or did you have some other training before?
Yes.
You trained under Harley?
That was the first training I went into. Again, I was still in high school technically when I had started. But I had 2 or 3 months left. I had all my credits and everything. So I would go to training right after school. So training wouldn't start till 4, but I would get out of school at 2:20, and I would get a ride over to the school, kind of sit out there and wait for an hour or so. So, everybody got there and was doing that 3 days a week. So, yeah, that was my first training ever.
And training under Harley, too, I'm sure that gave you opportunities, they ran independent shows and things like that for you to go put into practice what you learned. What type of promotions did you wrestle with?
So they actually have a promotion connected to the school, which is World League Wrestling. And World League Wrestling dates back a long time. It's not a new thing. It's been around for a while. There's been a couple different iterations of it, but yeah, it's definitely something that's been around for a while. And that was cool. The first promotion I ever wrestled for. I had my first match with them. It was April 6th of 2019.
Look at that recall.
It was really, can't forget it.
Good. Was it a singles tag? What type of match was it?
It was a singles. I don't think I've ever been more nervous in my life for anything.
Oh, I'm sure.
Which is crazy because it wasn't my first time competing in front of a large crowd. Again, with amateur wrestling back in high school, the state tournament, which was up in Mizzou, in Columbia, at their arena, different things like that. But there was just the pure nervous factor of it. Thinking okay, I trained hard for this, I worked hard for it, put in all this time, put in all this effort, but now it's actually happening. Got your boots on, have my boots on, have my singlet on. Had my. Hey man, can you show a little respect for me, please?
Get him.
That dude. But no, he probably tear me up. I don't want. But putting your singlet on for the first time, and putting your boots on, and you're all geared up. You're standing right there behind that curtain, and it's the butterflies are going. They're rolling around in your stomach, and it's actually a funny little thing. So I didn't even realize it because I was so in the zone, focused on what I had to go out there and do. First song I ever came out to was some Katy Perry song. something. I forgot which one it was. Which it didn't match my quote unquote character at all. But again, I watched back on the video and they're like, look what someone was playing. The promoter, play a little joke, trying to give me to loosen up a little bit.
right.
A lot of new guys.
Sure, absolutely.
Things to have them loosened up. But again, that feeling that you have after you have your first match, that feeling of accomplishment, it's second to none. Honestly, it's one of the best feelings I've ever felt. So.
When you had your first match, did they have you paired up with somebody that was a veteran to kind of help lead you through the match?
Yes.
I'm just kind of curious how they approached that with you.
Yeah, they did. Superstar Steve. He's another guy, he's done tours for Japan. He's done a lot of dark matches with WWE back in the day. So he's another guy. He knows a lot, and he still actively wrestles now. Actually, I just recently lost my WLW World Heavyweight Championship to him. I was actually the champion of that company for a long time, the longest reigning. Not to
nice.
Not the two
Hey, toot it, brother.
But yeah, I actually just recently lost the belt to him, and he's still been wrestling. And it's kind of cool to kind of like circle back to that. Like he's the guy I had my first match with, and 2.5 years later, I lose the championship title to him. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, that's who I had my first match with. And once you step in the ring, once you step through the ropes, the nerves kind of went away, and it's like, okay, now it's game time. You know what I'm saying? You had your time to be nervous. You walk to the ring, seeing offense and everything. Like you had your time to be nervous, but now it's time to put up or shut up. Again,
absolutely.
All things you told people who doubted you. You know what I'm saying? All the sacrifices you put into this. All the pain. Because we all know how painful it is. It's not.
For sure.
So all the damage you've done to your body, all of it, it's all for this moment. So step through those ropes, man. It's go time, and had a pretty good match, especially for my first match. So
that's good.
Again,
you didn't get out there and get too lost in the sway of things.
No, not at all. Surprisingly,
rose to the occasion then.
Again, because it was like I said, time to put up or shut up. Something you work for, something you've been telling people you're going to do.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm going to do it. So that was my mindset.
If I'm doing some of my quick country math in my head, so I might be off a few years, but you've been wrestling pretty actively for over 4 years now, 4 or 5 years? Let's see. So first match was, like I said, April 6th of 2019. Yeah.
Then I pretty much wrestled at that one particular promotion for about my first year. Didn't venture out too much. And then, did maybe like a couple of other shows, but I was pretty much mainly stayed there. And then COVID hit.
Sure.
So, we all know that
slowed everything down for everybody. Yeah.
So 2022 was kind of, for everybody. And then 2021, things started to pick back up a little bit. And then that's when I started branching out a little more, going out to these different promotions and running into these different people. And, and started, and that's actually how I eventually ended up getting into a relationship with Davey Richards, guys like him, guys like Mike Outlaw, Camaro Jackson, Warhorse, those type of guys, Team Ambition squad. So
so I did want to talk to you a little bit about Team Ambition. So Team Ambition, we talked a little bit about this with Joey O'Farrell, a previous guest of the show and a show promoter.
I love Joey. I was talking. Sorry not to cut you guys off. I was talking to Joey a bunch last night. Joey, he's a great guy. I love Joey.
He's an awesome guy. He actually, we're pretty decent acquaintances with him, and we have friends that are friends with him.
Right.
He went to school down in the area that we are at currently. So, we've known Joey for a long time. He used to throw shows down here. He had Fall Out Boy come play at a local pizza place down in this area. Before they got big.
He's very well connected. He's a hard worker, man.
Absolutely.
He works hard. I don't think he sleeps. I really don't.
I doubt it.
I wake up in the middle of the night. It's like 2:00 in the morning. I have like a missed call from him, or a text from him. Like 5 minutes ago. I'm like, Joey, like you're supposed to be asleep, dude.
Right.
We'll talk about wrestling, but I love that passion that he has for it, and I think he's done a good job of displaying that with the Grandel Wrestling shows. He's really putting on really awesome products that for those of you out there who have not had a chance to see it yet, it's something I would highly suggest seeing. If you're in the area, if you can come to the shows, buy a ticket, they are well worth it. So,
we had the opportunity to go to Dusk Till Dawn, and I'll tell you what, that was like one of the best times I've had that wrestling match in a while, man. It was a good time.
that production was amazing. You know, I told him, like, when I walked in, so that was the second Grandel show. The first Grandel show, it had more of like LED lights, LED boards and everything, which was really cool and everything. But like that from dusk to dawn, it had like, you know, our entrance, you know, we walked through a casket and you had two vampires opening the casket doors for us and had all the smoke and the pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns, and everything, and you know,
it was cool.
It was really
the vibe was
it almost had like the old Halloween Havoc vibe to it.
Yeah, it did
for sure.
Did. That's what he said he was going for, and I think it came off extremely well.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, so actually, that's really the first that we got to know of you, Moses, was through that event, and we had sponsored the match that you had with Dak Draper on the show.
I appreciate that, by the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was our pleasure. And that's really where we started. It's one thing to see somebody do stuff online, but until you go see them do it in person too, you digest it a little bit better. And I had a real appreciation for the talent that you are in the ring.
Absolutely.
Without question. You know, it's just the little things that you notice in people. You know, your disposition's very professional. You did a good job of working the crowd and engaging the crowd through your entrance.
Slow down, guys. I don't want to get a big head here. I don't want to. Too much big head. My tag team partner already has a problem with that, so I kind of got to be.
You try to level him out.
The level-headed guy. No, I really do appreciate that, and give a lot of props to Dak too. That guy again. That's another guy who works super hard. He's just really good at what he does, and it's really cool to see him get different opportunities with like NWA and things of that nature. You know, all the stuff he did with Ring of Honor. So he was really cool. You know, to get in there with super strong. That dude,
good God.
It's crazy. Like, he just lifted me up and tossed me around, and I'm like, that dude, he's
stout.
Impressive.
Chiseled out of stone without question.
Yeah.
He is.
But what I wanted to get to eventually with this was how did the relationship with you and Team Ambition, because I know there's a lot of talented people affiliated with Team Ambition. How did you end up with Team Ambition?
So I started training at this place down in St. Louis with guys like Mike Gallo and Camaro Jackson. And, you know, we were kind of training, doing our own little thing. It wasn't anything formal, but we kind of, just getting extra reps in. I was, between going there and going to Harley's, going back and forth, just to get, some extra reps in. At that point, I was pretty much training almost every day of the week, which is crazy because, at most places that doesn't happen, outside of like the PC, a couple other places like, New Japan dojos, like maybe a Black and Braid stuff around the school. But, so we were doing that for a while. And then at one point, Davey Richards had reached out to the guy who owned the building. And, he told him he kind of wanted to come back up and knock off some ring rust and everything to prepare for his in-ring return. So, Davey came back. I remember the first time he came back. He came back. And he's an intimidating guy. He's straight head on,
Yeah.
He doesn't play any games or anything like that. He tells you how it is. And, he started training us. And, before you knew it, it kind of like became a thing, It started to become a thing. And then, like, all of a sudden now it's like, tweeting out hashtag Team Ambition. And we're like, whoa, like, what, and it's slowly becoming a thing. And, like, more guys are coming around and, more people are showing up. And eventually it grew so big that we were able to open our own school and, kind of create a brand for Team Ambition, which it's pretty awesome to see, where it started and where it is now. And again, it wasn't that long ago that we met Davey for the first time, which is the crazy thing. Because I think even now our current school is coming up. It's only been open for a year now. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of crazy to look back on that and see how quickly things came together. But, Davey's another guy, a great mentor. Especially for someone like me, he has an amateur background as well.
Sure. Yep.
So, and he was able to show me a lot of different things too. In a lot of ways to, translate amateur wrestling into professional wrestling in different ways. Yeah. So, again, he's somebody who has all the knowledge in the world, with all the people that he's been in the ring with, and he's wrestled all over the world. So, he's an awesome guy. But it was cool to kind of be a part of something from the jump. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing when you join something that's already established, but to kind of be a part of Team Ambition and to see it grow into what it is now is awesome.
Right.
And we're still growing to this day. Like I said, we have the tryout camp going on upstairs right now where the guys and girls are working hard and busting their butts. We do this thing where during our tryout camps, we pick one winner to receive a free year of tuition to our school. One standout that we think displayed everything that we want in a student.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing who that's going to be.
That's
this
cool.
Year.
That's really cool.
It's really cool. And again, it's crazy to see what we've grown into. And like I said, again, still growing. Team Ambition, it's a recognizable thing now. Like we're around our jackets. I've had multiple, guys, like people, names, people like, hey, that's a cool jacket. I want that jacket. Where's my Team Ambition jacket?
Absolutely.
So it's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
And, I really enjoy it. So.
Well, like you said, just to echo some of that still, Davey is a guy who is just extremely talented, a guy who really was kind of the torchbearer for a lot of the guys that you see present day in WWE at top of the card. A lot of those people, Davey, they passed the torch through Davey, if you will, whenever he was in Ring of Honor way back when, and the champion. He was fighting your Tyler Blacks and those types of acts that were back there in that day. And if anybody hasn't ever checked out Davey before, I just recommend just do a quick YouTube search on his matches. And I think if you like MMA and combat sports and anything like that, you'll like his style that he applies to professional wrestling. And I always find myself being attracted to that type of work. And I noticed, Moses, you actually use a little bit of that in your move sets. You have some more traditional wrestling moves, like some of the waist locks, takedowns that you do and things like that. I noticed right away. And then, of course, it's hard not to notice the singlet that you wear to the ring, too.
Hell
and
yeah.
it's more of a traditional wrestling singlet.
Yeah.
So I guess that the amateur background of yours, you like to use that in your repertoire, if you will?
It's strong. I do. Something I definitely like to use. It's handy, especially in professional wrestling. It's something you can always go to if you ever get lost, you ever don't know what to do. You go back to your wrestling skills and your basics and your fundamentals. And that's another thing that Davey, tries to hammer home to us a lot. It's like, if you have that strong base and that strong foundation, especially with wrestling and amateur wrestling, you can always go back to it. You always go back to your wrestling. There's times where things don't go how you want it to go in a match, or things get clustered, or, whatever. But if you're able to go back to your wrestling, you always be able to, pick back up. You'll be able to get back on the right track a lot easier. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can always grab this or put a guy in this position. It's a lot easier to be able to control, because that's a lot of what it is in wrestling, being able to, manipulate the body and, move guys at different angles and things of that nature. So, it's a lot of the principles that were taught in amateur wrestling. Again, like I said, a lot of them do translate over to professional wrestling. So I definitely think it made my transition to professional wrestling a lot easier than what it would have been if I had been an amateur wrestler. And it's kind of crazy to see some guys you wouldn't think about, or wouldn't think of, they were amateur wrestlers. Of course, you got the people who are obvious, like guys like Kurt Angle, Chad Gable, Jason Jordan, guys like that. There's a lot of secret guys like Dolph Ziggler. For a long time, I didn't know he was an amateur wrestler. And a good one too. Amateur wrestler. Another one, Cody Rhodes. He was a 2-time state champion. In high school.
Yes, he was.
Which is insane, because if you look at Cody Rhodes, you wouldn't think that guy's an amateur wrestler, but he was. So there's a lot of professional wrestlers now that were amateur wrestlers, and for most of the ones I personally talked to, they all said the same thing. It makes that transition a lot easier.
Yeah, Otis was an amateur wrestler too, believe it or not.
He was. He was another one,
So you look at him, you wouldn't think that was the case, but
and all those guys are far better than I was an amateur wrestler. I was decent at it, but a lot of those guys were Olympians, and went on to do it in college and everything. Super talented guys. Even now, you got a lot of people in the PC, who are amateur wrestlers.
Yes.
You guys got Diamond Mine. You got
Braun Breaker,
Gable Stevenson, Braun Breaker, his brother, and then a bunch of guys down there. So it's definitely has strong ties in professional wrestling. Again, like I said earlier, that dates back way back when professional wrestling first started. So
and it just adds element of realism, because I think the big turnoff for a lot of people, especially the casual fans, that is, they call it that fake stuff. And as you alluded to earlier, there's things that definitely hurt, and there's moments, you're definitely putting your body on the line. You're trusting your opponent. Your life is in their hands, and then it all goes back to the brotherhood talk piece of it. But, there's some real things that take place in a wrestling match. You know, you can only work a chair shot so much, you know, to the back and things.
Yeah, I can only tell you guys the amount of times like I've been like knocked out in matches and stuff like that, and that's why it's called professional wrestling, because you know what professionals do, we're able to do that to where you don't notice. You know what I'm saying? Like there's times I've been like out cold and like nobody would notice. You think I was just selling or something like that. So again, there's a lot of different things that go into it that make it hard, but at the same time, I like the challenge. You know, like you gotta focus on what's going on in the ring, but you also gotta, you know, play with the crowd. Yeah, your condition. Oh my, I don't think people understand how tiring professional wrestling is, because it's constant movement.
Oh, I can imagine, because I don't do anything and I'm tired all the time. So
and a lot of times it's hard because there's not a lot of cardio that you can do that translates well to professional wrestling than just being in the ring and doing it. You know, that's the best way to get in the in-ring shape is, you know, being in the ring. You know, I look at it as like, you know, something as recent as The Rock, you know, when he said like, oh, he's not sure if he's match ready for, you know, Mania and things like that, back. You know, I looked at a lot of comments and I saw people saying like, oh, what do you mean he's not match ready? You know, look at him, he works out, he's big, he's strong, he's this, that. Yes, all of those things are true. But again, like I said, being in match shape, it's something totally different. You know,
absolutely.
You can run on the treadmill for as long as you want, but again, being in match shape, it's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen kind of like different wrestlers over the years kind of try and make comparisons to things that you could do cardio-wise, but nothing's like they always say, being in the ring, being in ring shape, it's just an entirely different thing. You can try and do all the cardio that you want, the Stairmasters, the burpees, so on and so forth. Like nothing is like locking up in the ring.
You know, you got to get in there and you got to pick up a guy who, you know, maybe 200 pounds plus, you know.
Yeah.
And you got to do that while you're tired, and you got to do it in a safe way so that you don't literally, you know, possibly hurt the person, paralyze them, kill them, anything.
Right.
So,
absolutely. Right, So Team Ambition is a collective of folks. I know now you all do training for women's wrestlers as well too, right?
We do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So tell me what it looks like when somebody shows up for a tryout for you guys, just out of curiosity, if anybody might be listening here today that might be interested in pursuing.
Yeah. So when you guys show up for those tryout camps, we normally put them through a workout. And I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, you know, it's hard. The workout, I'm not going to sit here and like try to sugarcoat it and make them like, oh, you know, okay, I can give it, you know. And of course, anybody can go in there and try it. But the workout we do put you guys through, it is hard, you know, because we want to test, you know, each individual and see, you know, what they're made of. See if they can be able to fight through adversity, you know, because
that's right.
Again, that's another thing in professional wrestling. It's not always going to be easy. You know, there's going to be parts that are hard. Just like here in a second, one of the things that we do here is we have at every tryout camp, we have the students run the steps. We have a flight of steps all the way to the top, the very top of the building, you know, where the part of our training school is. You know, like I said, I'm at the bottom right now. So actually pretty soon here we might be hearing some ramblings over here, a bunch of steps. That's what that is. But we have them run up all the flights of steps and back down. You know, they do that 20 times. You know, that's one of the things. That's even when I did it, you know, it was something that was extremely hard. Like for me, for all the guys, it's not easy. You know, it's like I'm sure you guys have done where you know walk up the steps in your house. Tired, so you know.
Yeah, man.
You know, being able to have run up and down the step 20 times. You know, it's something that's pretty grueling. But again, we try to challenge them to see, you know, if they'll make it or if they'll break. You know.
Right.
And the last few camps, again, it's been hard. We've seen people like throw up, you know, be tired, you know, things like that. But they've done a good job at pushing through it, you know, fighting through the adversity. So that's one of the biggest things that we look for is coachability and, you know, the will to not quit.
What does a tryout look like time-wise? Are you having them multiple nights a week? Do they have to go through a series of events? Like, what does that look like?
I believe this one is just one night, but it started at 6 o'clock and it goes for about 3 hours, so it won't end to 9. Yeah. So, you know, they're currently doing it right now. And again, it's full of a lot of conditioning. And, you know, we put them in the ring a little bit, try to put them through little basic things, you know, little work things, try to build that foundation. But that's typically what it looks like. Yeah. It's either, you know, 1 or 2 days. Again, this one is just for a day, I do believe.
Yeah. And I know once you guys get to the class phase, there's areas of focus on certain nights of the week, or at least in an early schedule I saw that was published of you guys. So, like, for example, You might be working on basics on this week or this day of the week, but you might be working on promo work on this day or weight training, whatever the case is. Is that kind of how it is still yet?
Yeah. And that's one of the cool things about Team Ambition. We offer more than just the in-ring aspect of wrestling. Of course, we have, all of our coaches are qualified in, all the areas, in-ring we got, again, Davey Richards, got Warhorse, we got Camaro Jackson, and Mike Outlaw. Those are our 4 main trainers. And then Davey teaches the fundamentals class. Davey teaches the advanced class. Mike Outlaw teaches the fundamentals class. Warhorse does promo class and character development. And then Camaro Jackson does. They're getting kind of loud up there.
There they go.
Are they starting? Yeah, they're starting. They're going to start running the stairs.
There we go.
Boy. But and then again, Camaro Jackson does the strength and conditioning class. So, that's kind of the schedule we have going on. And again, it's pretty cool because we get to work on all those areas. Because all those areas are extremely necessary for wrestling. It's a necessity.
Absolutely.
You got to be good in your promo work, your character work. You got to be strong and in good condition. You got to be able to have on, your basics and your fundamentals. Here they come.
For sure. All right, we might be getting a angry mob down the steps.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Hey, we on the podcast right now, baby. What's up, guys? Say what's up to the podcast.
Hey. That's pretty cool, man.
That's awesome.
One. And they got to do that 20 more times. Hey, good luck to y'all. I'm praying for you. Yeah,
praying for you.
They got to do that 20 times. So, again, it's about pushing through it and kind of showing that adversity, being able to fight through it. That's what you got to do. And again, that's not only in professional wrestling, that's in life in general. So, kind of mindset you got to have. We want to have people come in that are willing and ready to work at all times. So.
Well, it kind of gets back to that brotherhood talk, too, in the sense that, if you're in the trenches, you want to know that you got somebody there that's battle-tested,
And we definitely do a good job of, pushing and uplifting each other, too. If we ever see a teammate that's kind of down on themselves, you might have a bad day of training. Even me, sometimes I have bad days of training still. Like everybody does, Especially, because wrestling is something where you never stop learning. So
absolutely.
But we do a very good job at uplifting each other and, helping each other out, just giving words of encouragement, pushing each other. Because, again, it's something, it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Yeah.
But, again, I see these guys running the stairs. Again, they're on number 1 right now. By the time they get to 10 to 12, it's going to start to it's really going to start to sink in. You know what I'm saying? And that's when we're going to start hearing a lot more yelling, a lot more pushing, and a lot of more encouragement that'll go into it. So and again, we do a great job of that. Which again, I kind of like that team environment. That's why Team Ambition is not just a catchphrase or a slogan or just a cool logo. It's really truly how we train. It's truly a team. So
It's awesome. I really like the name Team Ambition too, because to me it kind of harkens to your dojos or your UFC camps and things like that with the name. It has a little bit more of a legitimacy to it, outside of just the positivity that you've brought to light. That's kind of behind the name too, and I'm sure this school in and of itself is kind of setting up networking opportunities for people, whether it's on accident or on purpose. But getting into the Grandel events, a lot of Team Ambition being involved in the Grandel events, like STL versus the World, for example. And so you guys are wrestling against some of the biggest names on the independent scene or the biggest names of years of recent, whether it's across promotions like what used to be TNA, now Impact Wrestling, ROH, AEW, so on and so forth, New Japan Wrestling. You see a lot
of our guys getting opportunities at a lot of different places, which is awesome. That's all we ever want in life. Just not professional wrestling again. You want the opportunity, and Team Ambition is definitely a good spot to reach out and get those opportunities because there's a lot of connections that are made here. A lot of them, especially with guys like Davey, who knows pretty much everybody nowadays. So,
sure. Yeah. And I know that too. After I went to the Grandel event back in the fall that we were talking about earlier of 2022. I went to St. Louis Smackdown, and I saw you again there. It was a nice little surprise a few weeks later. And you got to get caught in some casualty damage from Braun Strowman.
That was fun. That was awesome. That's another experience, that sometimes I don't even think about that. It happened something that, you get so caught up in, your weekly routine, with training and everything. You just forget those little things. that experience within itself was amazing. You know, being able to be like stand there in gorilla and just walk out and like, especially again in my hometown, St. Louis.
Right.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. Like we walked out, we made our entrance, and
right.
You got fans that like recognize you, like Moses,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, Moses, and that feeling, oh my gosh, just looking out to that that whole arena of people, and that, oh my gosh, that I get chills just thinking about it. That's what we all dream for.
I was definitely
that emotion.
I was definitely one of those guys because I saw you walk out. I was like, oh shit, that's Moses. Yeah. My wife's like, oh, the guy that the match you went to. I'm like, yeah, and she's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. A lot of my friends and family were reposting it, and in my high school I went to, my high school wrestling coach, he had reposted it, and doing good, guys. You guys doing good. Keep pushing. You guys got it. Yeah, we got like, sorry, not.
No, you're good. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we got like
that's cool.
20, 30 people here right now, and again, they're all pushing each other. It's great. It's all I love to see.
That is cool.
But yeah, it was good. The love that I got from doing the little piece I did on Smackdown, it was awesome, and it made me more hungry. Because again, that's something I want to do full time, permanently. For a job. I want to make a living doing that. So it definitely gave me a lot of added extra motivation. So yeah.
Now, I know you do a lot of singles matches, but I also know that you're a part of the tag team Technical Difficulties, which you'll be wrestling on the next Grandel event with Raheem De La Suede, right? Your tag team partner?
Suede, baby.
Yeah, Suede.
Yeah.
So tell me how that tag team came together. I know you guys have wrestled together a few different times, at least that I've seen.
Raheem and I, we started training together. We both started Harleys together. It's kind of crazy. We both walked in at the same time, and I think one of my first times, we'd have a little small talk, like that. But one of my first times really, really having a conversation with him was I needed a ride home one night. I was coming straight from school. I was like, I don't get a ride home, and I'm gonna be stuck. So I was like, hey man, you think you take me home tonight? He's like, yeah, bro, of course. And then that whole ride home, we started talking, getting to know each other, and kind of find out, little things like he's also an amateur wrestler. And the way the high schools work, we were in the same district tournaments. Like we were at the same district tournaments, a lot of the same tournaments and stuff. And because he went to Hazelwood West and I went to Francis House, so those two teams are wrestling the same district tournament, and it's kind of crazy to think like how small the world it is. Because he's a year older than I am, so we were in a lot of the same buildings before we even knew each other. At the same time. So that we had a bond from that, and it just grew and grew and grew, and started tagging. We had our first. So we had a couple of tag team matches, but it wasn't official. Here he is, right here.
Yeah, I saw him creeping up on you.
He's trying to play. Here he is, right here. It's Raheem De La Suede.
Hey,
it was so sweet.
Yeah. So we had a couple of tag team matches, but we weren't under technical difficulties yet. It was just Moses and Raheem, two guys at WLW. But we had our first official match under the banner as technical difficulties. It was at the very first Black Wrestlers Matter show, which is another great company, another company that you guys should go out and support. They put on, a lot of awesome shows, for the culture. I love it. That was our first time tag teaming under the banner as technical difficulties. And from there, it's kind of, started picking up, and we were, all over the place. Just again, I was with him in Canada a couple of weekends ago and things like that. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about the Black Wrestlers Matters thing until a few months ago. I saw that you had shared some stuff from them, and definitely something worth checking out for sure.
Yeah, great organization. That's cool.
Yeah, they put on awesome shows.
I know that you and Mr. Suede there are going to be wrestling here at the Grandel event we've talked about. That's STL versus the World 2 against the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah.
Man, are you guys excited to lock it up with them?
We are. We are very excited for that one. But, we're really focused, too. This is a big opportunity. Big match. Probably the biggest tag match we ever had. So, really locked in. We're working hard. We're training hard. Trying new things.
I'm excited to see it.
Big time to shine, Motor City Machine Guns, the name speaks for itself. I don't got to, run down the list of everything they did, all the tag teams they faced. We all know that. So, it's a huge opportunity, one of the biggest opportunities that we've ever had. Again, I want to thank Joey for giving us that opportunity.
Sure,
He trusted us. He gave us that opportunity to go out and show what we can do on a big stage, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, it's in the event that you don't know who the Motor City Machine Guns are. Again, go to YouTube. You're doing yourself a favor by checking these guys out. Alex Shelley, Chris Sabian, probably if not top 5, top 3 best tag teams last 20 years, arguably, easily.
Yeah, for sure.
They're just great technical wizards, and again, they have a lot of legitimacy to their style, some amateur influence, but also a little bit of high flying implemented and things of that nature too, which I think is going to match up very well with you guys.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to see a really I'll just go ahead and throw it out there. Maybe you guys are going to have a classic out there in the ring.
Hey,
I'll be so bold.
That's the plan.
We'll be there, so it'll be nice to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That is the plan. We're definitely looking forward to going out there, having a good match with those guys. Again, showing them what we're capable of, what we're able to do. A lot of people are probably going in this match, mainly looking at the Motor City Machine Guns, which is fair. I'll probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
We're definitely looking to put a lot of eyes on myself as well. Show people what we're all about.
I know if it was me, I might forget I'm wrestling and just sit back and watch.
I know.
Yeah, no doubt.
For sure.
And I know this probably had to be special to you too, Moses. I know within the last few months or so, you got a chance to wrestle Trevor Murdoch, NWA champ, another one of Harley's students, and a guy who just pays a lot of homage and respect to Harley. Tell us about that experience and what that was like for you.
That was awesome. Again, that was one of those things that, so you just said it. It's one of those things that you wrestle so many times, and you have so many, weekend after weekend after weekend. It's like, wow, I wrestled. And at the time, he was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion as well.
Right.
So, that was something that was super cool. And
yeah,
it was kind of like two different eras, of Harley students, which was another cool thing.
Sure.
Because, he started training with Harley, well before I did.
Early on,
and, I kind of came, at the later stages. But it was kind of cool to see, as we're talking to them about different things, a lot of the same principles still apply. A lot of the same fundamental things, they still apply. So, it was special. It was special. Cause, And that wasn't my first time meeting Trevor. I met him a couple times at a couple other shows and, seeing him in NWA, doing the scene there. But, you able to lock up with him and step in the ring with him and, go at it again with a fellow Harley guy, current NWA, or at the time he was the current NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
Sure.
But that he held and but the Harley held as well, of course. So, there was a lot of special emotional attachments to that match.
Yep, 10 pounds of gold, my man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that it had to be special too in some senses, at least me as a fan seeing it and just kind of how you depicted it. It's kind of the beginning of Harley's, training more formally, and then toward the end of his time with us too. So it was almost like you guys kind of bookend that story for him as well. So it's got a very, very sweet moment for sure.
It was awesome. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every single second of it. I didn't come out with a victory like I would have liked to, but
sure.
The cool thing about that is, maybe we can run it back. If he finds a way to get his hands back in the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, maybe the next time we wrestle, it can be for the title.
Yeah, let's put that belt on.
Just an exhibition, but maybe again do it for the title. And again, do it. At World League Wrestling. Building. Harley Race where he trained at. Again, it was special. So it's definitely something I'd love to do again.
So we've talked about it a few times here. March 18th, 2023, 5 p.m. are the doors at the Grandel Wrestling STL versus the World 2. And they've got varying prices of tickets, guys. It's as cheap as $35. If you guys are not sure or you've been to wrestling events before and liked it, I highly recommend Grandel Wrestling this event and seeing people like Moses there, very talented people. And hop on that train before it gets too big,
Yeah.
Buy the stock rise low.
There you go. Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Moses, just to get our followers and our listeners to get to know you a little bit better too, just kind of round out some of I just want to ask you some personal questions about wrestling as a fan. So what would be a favorite tag team of all time for you?
Ooh.
That's tough. Yeah.
And even if you can't narrow it down to one, just people that are in the conversation at least.
These questions are hard because
I know
you have your tag teams that you liked as a kid.
Sure.
Right.
I know.
Like the Hardy Boys,
right.
Edwin Christian, the Dudleys,
Absolutely.
You have those type of tag teams. And then you have tag teams that you've grown to respect out of, the working aspect of things. You know what I'm saying? Guys like the Motor City Machine Guns, the American Wolves. That's of course, Davey being one of my trainers. Somebody who I study a lot of. So those are definitely few of the ones that I enjoy. American Alpha, I really like their thing when they were even going at it.
Sure.
Chad Gable, Jason Jordan.
Absolutely.
The Revival, great tag team.
Yep.
There's tag teams out there now that I really enjoy.
Brothers of Destruction. Somebody said on the comments on Twitch.
So many brothers. There's too many. You can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And you even got people like the Rock and Sock Connection. Like there's so many out there. So many.
Right.
There's just a few of them. And then again, like I said, a bunch of current tag teams that we're fans of. Like I like a lot of Top Flight's work. Dante and Darius Martin.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to share a locker room with them a couple times. And a few other tag teams that we got the chance to go against, like Fly Death. They're a tag team out of Texas. There's a bunch of them out there. So tag team wrestling is really cool, and it's really starting to pick up again too.
Yes.
And it's very singles wrestling is great, but there's another level of art to tag team wrestling.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%, and I'm glad to see it starting to make a comeback as well.
Yeah. I love it.
What about a singles star for you? Who would you put in that Mount Rushmore conversation?
Oh my gosh, you guys Mount Rushmore. That was impossible to answer because there's so many eras. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh my god. Mount Rushmore. I'll tell you some of my personal favorites when I was younger. Growing up, again, a lot of people I met, I had the opportunity to meet, like Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle, Randy Orton. I was big fans of them, especially being able to meet them at a young age. That made me a fan for life. John Cena, Eddie Guerrero, big fan of Brock Lesnar.
Right.
A bunch of guys throughout the years. Yeah, those are definitely some of my core favorites at a young age.
Yeah. How about manager of all time? Do you have an appreciation for managers? And if so, who would you say is the best manager of all time?
I gotta say Paul Heyman was Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
I love Paul's work.
I agree.
There are a bunch of great managers out there.
Sure.
Another one, sleeper, Zeb Coulter. I like what Zeb Coulter was doing with him and with Jack Swagger. I like how they did their thing. Of course, I'd have to mention Harley Race.
Sure.
All the guys he managed. So many. Teddy Long was a great manager. Before he became the GM, he was a great manager.
Paul Bear.
Sure. Percy Pringle.
I like MVP. Yeah, Percy. I like MVP. I like what he's doing right now. Stuff he's doing with Hurt Business, and then with Bobby Lashley. And now with Omos. There's so many. It's crazy when you look back at Digger Wrestling. Like that's why it's always hard to answer those questions. I feel like it's almost easier to answer that question when you look at sports like basketball. Like the combo is LeBron or MJ.
Right.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Or you look at football, people are going to run to like Tom Brady, Joe Montana, or
Well, it's because you can qualify it.
Yeah, baseball.
Yeah, with the number.
They're going to run to Babe Ruth, guys like that.
Right.
But yeah, with wrestling, there's so many. Or, with hockey, Wayne Gretzky. So but with wrestling, again, there's so many, and there's so many different types of wrestling too. That's what kind of makes that a hard question to answer. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of wrestling that people probably in large haven't even tapped into. There's a lot of old Japan wrestling, European wrestling.
So much that I haven't tapped into.
There's quite a movement, like this whole culture of wrestling tents that they do in the UK, where it's like a traveling circus type act, like really back to the carny roots, if you will, of it.
Yeah.
So there's just so much wrestling out there. Luchadors, that's an entirely different thing too, different working style. There's if you see wrestling, professional wrestling, and you think, oh, it's all good.
Oh, you're good.
We're good. If you see wrestling, you think, oh, that's not for me. I guarantee you, there's somewhere.
Keep it PG.
Hey, it's fine here, man. We're an explicit podcast. We let things fly sometimes.
Cool.
So everything's good. But yeah, I guarantee you there's a type of wrestling out there for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just have to kind of find what that is. And here's another tough one for you, Moses. Favorite match of all time. What's in that conversation for you?
Come on now.
This will be the last tough one. I wouldn't even know where to begin that thought. You have one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely do.
Oh my Favorite match of all time. I have one right off the top of my head that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the build to it. I don't know if I want to say it without. I really enjoyed the Rock and John Cena WrestleMania 28. That was one of my favorite builds of all time. And again, it's just subjective because when you look at matches, it's like, what are you looking for? Again, that was before I started wrestling. Before I started.
It's more fandom.
Being a professional wrestler.
Right.
Then you look at as actually being a professional wrestler, even as a fan too, you look at matches like triple threat between Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, and Christopher Daniels.
Right.
That was one of the best triple threats I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely.
So many. It's one of those ones that's just too many to pick from just one.
Right.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I always kind of go back to that moment. You mentioned this earlier, kind of more the sentimental wrestling moments. And I just remember what kind of just expanded my world wrestling view, that is. And I remember the first match that I saw from start to finish and remembered what it was. I'm sure I'd seen other ones that just didn't stick with me. Was the Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon ladder match from WrestleMania 10. That is an all-time great. It's like the first ladder match.
Razor Ramon.
Yeah, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall.
When I get asked those questions, my brain goes in so many different directions.
Sure.
It's hard for me to even think. Like when you just mentioned Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. They did it again at WrestleMania 26.
Yeah.
And then you had Triple H and Undertaker at WrestleMania 28. That was another great one.
That's right.
I saw a video the other day where Shawn Michaels gave Undertaker that super kick. Triple H covered for the pin, 1-2, and he kicked out, and the emotion on Shawn Michaels' face, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he kicked off.
Right.
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah. But I always lean on that match or WrestleMania 13, Bret Hart against Stone Cold Steve Austin, double turn. You never see a good double turn. If it's done well, it's one of the best things. I argue it is perhaps the best television there is to see, regardless of live sports, dramas, fantasy series. To see a good pro wrestling angle executed on TV and it be a double turn is a work of art. It is the Mona Lisa of professional wrestling.
Again, that goes into it, like how hard it is to do that stuff. We're going to capture the emotion of the fans and have that goes to speak of the different aspects and different elements that go into professional wrestling. Yeah, it's amazing.
But iconic.
Like you said, it really is an art form.
It's iconic, that match in particular. Stone Cold passes out in his pool of blood while he's in the sharpshooter. And it's just incredible. Like
that's a visual. Like I feel like some people that may not even seen that match, they've definitely seen that visual.
Yes.
Stone Cold being in that sharpshooter, face covered in blood. And
yes.
That's
The Don't Try This at Home reel that they used to show always had that shot in it back in the day for WWE, but whenever they play that. Yeah, no question. Well, Moses, let's talk about other things that you got going on in the future. Do you have any other events coming up where people can catch you out outside of the Grandel event that we talked about earlier on March 18th?
This weekend, I'm a pretty stacked weekend. Tomorrow I'll be at Iron Spirit Pro in a tag team match. My partner Raheem. I'll be in a tag team championship match. Then Saturday, I'll be at WLW. We have a show in Fort Leonard, Missouri at the Army base, so that'll be pretty cool. And
that's cool,
Sunday, got Glory Pro. I'm going one-on-one with Mike Outlaw. Somebody I've had a little bit of beef with back and forth. So, that's what I got this weekend. And again, got a bunch of other stuff in the works. And I'll be going back to Canada next couple of months or so, which should be really cool. And just,
awesome.
Definitely watch out for my socials. I have I always post all of my bookings and all the shows and everything. Definitely put it on there.
So you're pretty much everywhere on social media: TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, right?
At Twitter, it's at @the_deliverer. Instagram, it's the deliverer, or it's the_deliverer_Moses. And then on Facebook, it's Moses the Deliverer. And then on TikTok, same thing. So it's as long as you type in a combination of those three, I'm sure my face will pop up somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to commend Moses. He's very good about sharing his stuff and his events that he has coming up. You can catch him. I know a lot of people that listen to us in and around the St. Louis area. If you guys are looking for something to do, give pro wrestling a chance. Give Moses a chance. He's very talented.
Support your local community. Get out.
Absolutely. And we really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today.
Yeah, thank you,
Moses, as well. We were happy to hear a little bit about Team Ambition and everything that you have going on, too.
Yeah.
They're still going at it right now.
They got this.
I was hoping to...
16? Hey,
you almost say
yeah, that guy's leading the pack. Yeah, he must be a long distance runner. I can spot him from a mile away. That's what I used to do.
Kevin can run for days. When I do in-ring drills with him sometimes, I don't know if I want to go with Kevin.
Yeah. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in to the ATI Podcast again this week. Very successful launch on Season 2, our second episode in, and we had to have Moses on with the special connection going back to the match that we were able to sponsor at the Grandel event in the fall. Go to the Grandel event here in the spring, March 18th, 2023.
Come see us and Moses.
And you'll see us and Moses there. All right?
This is Barrett from the ATI Podcast. Each week, Josh and I discuss current events, pop culture, music, TV, movies, politics, sports. Nothing is out of bounds. You can also tune in to learn about rising artists, small businesses. Whether it's music, graphic design, filmmaking, or even a brick-and-mortar mom-and-pop shop, we will be spotlighting folks and their endeavors. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Anchor, or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. Just search ATI Podcast. We would like to thank you for your continued support, and as always, please stay safe out there.
Hey, this is Josh from ATI Podcast. For show updates and news about the podcast, follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ATI Podcast 22, on Twitter at podcast_ATI, on Instagram at The ATI Podcast, on TikTok at ATI Podcast. DMs are always welcome. Have a question for the show? You can always email us at atipodcastquestions@gmail.com. Stay safe out there.